Welcome to big reveal number 2. Hey, it's Care. Welcome to Mateketo Lake. So we're still cozying up to fall, because it is, after all, still fall. Couple updates with the first reveal. As I was watching Amy's video, I noticed she was using images I remembered cutting, but did not use, because they weren't in my pile. She even used a couple images that I don't remember cutting at all. But we all know, that's par for my course, so it's all right. When we were done harvesting the first magazine, Better Homes and Gardens, I stuck all of the images in this notebook so that they would not get mixed with my other stuff and whatnot. And so when I went to glue all of my pages, I pulled all the images out. And I went through the book. And when I saw that she had images I didn't, I went through the book again. They weren't here. So I looked in my studio and I looked in my other piles. Didn't have them. So I thought, well, I must have thrown them out. And as I started to glue the second round in from the Country Living magazine, found the other ones. So I have a couple updates to this Better Homes and Gardens. I did find something to put here, and then I just colored in from this distance, and you can't really see it, but you can see if you hold to the light, there's some ink there to cover up what writing this didn't cover up, but when it's at arm's length, you can't really see it. I love cutting images out like Polaroids. I got that idea from Janet Nash, and I just love it. These are, I don't think these were part of our thing. I don't know. We have to huddle up and regroup for this next round because we did a lot of things differently. It seemed so simple when we started. Anyway, these are little biscuits. I think they're layer biscuits that are made in the shape of pumpkins with pretzel stick stems and sage leaves if you're looking for something fun to take to the family get together. How cute are they? And then a nice giant piece of pumpkin pie. Now I left these as vertical tip ins so that I can lift up and still see the rest of my pumpkins. I didn't want to cover anything up, so all that writing is still underneath there, but I can hide it with these tip ins. No change here. That's not true. This is one of the things I don't remember cutting at all. I have no recollection of this, but I saw Amy use it and I thought, oh, that's beautiful. I loved the piece of art that was here, but I liked the door better. And to me, this is the door to this house. So I added that. No change here or here. At this point, I would like to talk about, for a moment, glue. Now, usually I use Scotch Create glue, the $7 a stick glue, but I was having some trouble with that, and so I was looking for different glues. I saw someone who glues a lot recommend this, and so I thought, well, she glues a lot, she must know what she's talking about. So I ordered a 12-pack because it was on sale at Amazon. And if you used my suggestion, let me apologize to you right now, because it's junk. It is absolute junk. I have re-glued in this first half so many times. You can see where it's been glued, but it just peels off just as easy as if it were never glued at all. It's junk, and I should have known it's junk. It's Elmer's all-purpose glue stick. It's kid stuff. There's so much water in here, it smears the ink when I'm gluing here. This is a cheap notebook, so this ink is not set very well, and if you add water, this ink will run. Here's a picture of how much this glue smears the lines because there's so much water in it, and it just is a waste of time. I don't want to spend my life re-gluing something that I've glued. Not to mention, when I did this first half, I took great pains to smooth everything out with my credit card or my bone folder or my smoothing t-shirt, and when I was making these, they were super smooth. And I saw when I was editing, you can see, look how wrinkly all of that is because I'm using crap glue. That irritates the bejesus out of me. There's a lot of hours in this that looks like a 5-year-old did it. I can't have that. So I'll use this for junk projects. I won't use it for anything for this channel anymore or anything that I'm going to sell to somebody, for God's sake. That's ridiculous. I ordered another 12 or 16 pack of a different kind of glue, and I'm not even going to mention that one's name until I know it's not garbage. It also comes highly recommended, but I don't trust recommendations anymore because they're garbage too. I would also like to say that during the course of this project, I think, I'm willing to bet, that our styles will start to align a little bit as we see what each other does and learn some of their tricks that we didn't know before, etc. As we go through this project together, and each time we're going to sort of huddle up and see what worked and what didn't, and each time is going to be a little bit different. And as we watch each other, how we use the same images, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I think I'll try that next time. I think it's going to be an interesting experiment to watch because things are going to continue to evolve. No change here or here, but look at here again. It just comes off like it was never glued. So, oy. And I'd like to back up here about this. I had made a big deal of blacking out the yucky candy corns, totally ignoring this until I was editing it. Here's my justification for that. I'm used to seeing candy corn as decoration behind something like this, or in a bowl as part of decoration. It doesn't even register. But on my favorite of all desserts, a caramel apple surrounded by nastiness, registered big time. That's why I thought, oh, I gotta make those go away. I didn't even see these. Oh well, no change. She had a big one, I had a little one, because what was on the back of the big one I wanted for another project, so I took the little one. That's why that's different. We have the same image, but she has the big version, I have the little version. And that brings us to my country living. Flip through the big reveal part 2. I love this page because it tells you the magazine we used and which edition it was, which issue, and it's beautifully fall all the way around. It did have a little informational bit here that I covered up. This is a funny page. I kept hearing Amy's voice in my head say, "Nothing says fall like ducks and whiskey." And even though we put both of these things aside for the not used pile, I just had to put it in because it just kept making me laugh. Nothing says fall like ducks and whiskey, smoked whiskey or mulled whiskey, I'm not sure which. And I found this ad about smoked bacon, and so I just wanted to make that up. I was going to cut out all the ducks, and like Christina at Christina's Shack did with her little wooden people, which is going to put a little duck on every page, like Where's Waldo? But I really liked it together. As you'll see, most of my images remain intact because I like how they look intact, and I didn't have the time to cut them all out and glue them all on different pages, so that's what that's all about. But again, look at how rough, wrinkly. I'm so frustrated by how nothing is flat. Oh well, you learn as you go. Also, like Christina's Shack, I love her glue books. This is not, her glue book rooms. This is not a glue book room project. My mind's not there yet. I can't wrap my head around it. However, kind of as a tip of the hat to her glue book rooms, in that this is a tour of some houses. You'll see the houses in a little bit. Right now, we're just looking at the yard, and we'll get to the houses and a couple of the rooms in the houses and some of the things that are going on in the houses, and then the backyard. That's how mine is laid out, and so there is not really a story behind it, but that's my thinking behind this. Also at the end, I'll give you, because I'm not showing you my process, I do have a couple of photographs of me working, because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm at a different place. The lighting is terrible, so I didn't record it per se, but I will show you that at the end of the video and add a couple of comments about my process after we harvest the images, if you're interested in that. Gorgeous. I absolutely love this image as is. It had a whole bunch of information that I didn't need, so I covered that up. Love the basket of blankets and how it all just kind of coordinates. Even though this is not outside, it could very well be the front porch, the covered front porch. Fancy a cuppa with some flowers from the table. Another Polaroid image style cutting of the magazine. This I also left as a tip in because it has the picture of those wonderful cider caramels on the back that I didn't want to glue down. I wanted to be able to refer to that when I make my cider caramels, because I am going to use that recipe one of these days. So here are the houses that we just came in from the yard. Beautiful, pitch perfect A-frames. I love the information that this book includes with all of their stuff. I love the knowledge bits. And so you'll see throughout, I left them in or added them to because I just love how it is. So a tiny little clip art A-frame, a brief history, what year each of these houses was built in. I just love that. And as a side note, this beautiful bugger here, this nice little A-frame right here, can be yours for the low, low price of $699,000. It's a whopping 1,210 square feet, and it needs work. Yeah, $699,000. Built in 1964, needs a little TLC. Meet the dog, adopted from Long Island's Rough House Rescue. 2-year-old rat terrier mix Pete spends his days chasing chipmunks and taking naps on the sofa. Way to go, Pete. A picture from the backyard, some random Indian corn being harvested. Leaf peeping season. Gorgeous array of fall foliage. More of the outside of the house. I love this. You can see the smoke is billowing out. The fire's burning bright, keeping it all warm and cozy. The puppers are waiting to get home after a swing in the yard. And when you go in, and to get to the house, you have to go through the covered bridge. And this is one of the rooms in the house. Here, the fire is burning bright. That gives you that nice big plume of smoke. For the love of cast iron stoves, I loved that. Here is where I put our picture of an elephant that says tiger, because why not? I was going to put it here as art on the wall, but this is a wonderful campfires poster. All the 12 different kinds of campfires that can be built, so I didn't want to cover that up. And I noticed this just now. It looks like there's a gap between the ceiling and the wall. This is a wood piece right here, so it's not shiny metal. It shouldn't reflect anything. Wonder what's up with that. And is this inside of that $700,000 house? Is that what needs work? There's gaps between the ceiling and the wall. Although I don't think you'd see light in an airy frame because the roof hangs over, so it's probably not. But dang, beautiful old game being played there. I think an old deck of cards there. Beautiful old radio. I just love this room. The foyer with all the sweaters hanging in, and why Brits refer to sweaters as jumpers. What we know as a pullover sweater here in the US is typically referred to as a jumper by our friends across the Atlantic. The term has nothing to do with leaping, rather it is derived from jupe, an old word for a man's short coat or tunic. Over time, it evolved to jump and eventually jumper. The origin of the sweater, however, is much more straightforward. The woolen jerseys and vests worn by rowers were intended to produce sweat, thus became known as sweaters. It was all I could do to leave her in. She's inspecting a sweater. I love her outfit, the casual of it, the barefoot in the fall. She's examining wool sweaters, but she's barefoot. So either her home is really cozy or she makes sweaters all year long or something. Interesting dichotomy. I did cover her up a little bit just because. Another gorgeous fireplace with a duck on the mantle, don't you know? There's where my turkey landed. And another mantelpiece with the fishing creel and old binoculars. And that wonderful, I just love this firewood collection. I just think it's fantastic. And another duck. So I didn't have to cut the ducks out and put them on another page because they're all over the place. I think this is my favorite page of all the pages. It is the games, the vintage games. And I just think it's beautiful all the way around. Again, this is where I left a lot of the informational bits. And more tip ends. These are vintage cribbage boards, and on the back is a vintage card dealer. But underneath it, there is an informational bit above board about the history of board games and these particular board games publisher or manufacturer. So it's a tip end, more of a traditional because it flaps horizontally than the up and down ones, but tip ends are tip ends. That picture is all intact the way that it was. I don't need to change anything. Another informational bit about the precursor to bingo. Here's another tip in, more of the vintage cribbage boards. This one tips in. It's not covering or revealing anything here, but here, another one of the vintage card dealers, and the history of how we got the 52 card deck, most likely spread from east to west through the Crusades and the global trade. Playing cards became standardized in Europe by the end of the 1400s. German, Latin, and French decks were most common, but each had different card counts and suit or pip styles, probably dominant today because it was the easiest to reproduce. The French system gave us spades, diamonds, clubs, and hearts. I love that. I do want to cover this little thank you to people who shared their collection of bridge tallies. This one is a little bit interactive. There's the crib notes about the history of cribbage, and ready to roll is the history of rolling dice for entertainment. I was going to tuck the crib notes in here, but then I'd have to glue this and I would lose that. So I did not glue it, and that's why there's two tucked in my little dice cup. The green kitchen. So now we're in of course the games are inside the house, but now we're in the green kitchen. I do want something to cover this, but just a gorgeous picture. I did leave this unglued on purpose so it gives it a little bit of dimension, as if you could just open this cupboard. You know, again, you could just pull it off because the glue sucks. Here's where I used that vintage recipe box and a bottle of genuine Vermont maple syrup. The sweets were added and the goodies. This was on the back of something that we used. It's a really nice old greenish map on a green wall, and I thought that would go wonderfully in the green kitchen. Get cracking just for fun. Maybe I can find some either firewood for here, for this wood stove, or just firewood in general. Get cracking. It reminds me of a bonfire for some reason. More stuff going on in the kitchen. Apple picking, homegrown core memories with these beautiful bags of apples. And of course, making dough to make apple pies and pumpkin pies and sweet potato pies. The selection, these are the stamps of all the different kinds of apples. And a feather pumpkin. More stuff going on in the kitchen, that beautiful little pantry. I would like to find stuff to surround this with. Maybe just some random fall leaves or something that isn't really a picture, more color than anything. But literally I had nothing left to glue down. I used all my strips in some of the corners here. I had nothing else to glue down from harvesting, so I'll have to add that later. But that's the plan here, plus more cooking stuff on this blank piece, because I'm moving from the kitchen to the backyard, and I wanted the backyard to have its own page. So again, pretty much intact. I added all of these strips, and slow but surely, gather, nest, linger. I would like to get something to cover this up, maybe a pretty leaf, or again another pine cone, and of course a nice colorful strip there. But look, it just never ends. Everywhere I look, there's something lifted that needs to be re-glued. I don't have that kind of patience. And the fire pit, of course. Meet the dog. When half golden retriever, half miniature poodle, Rosie isn't hiking the trails, you'll find her riding along in a canoe. S'mores bar. A really fun old canteen. And the lake around the bonfire. I left this completely intact because I love how the mottled sunlight makes this look almost like a painting rather than a photograph. And I love this when it comes to decorating for the season. You can't do better than what nature serves up. Here's how to forage your way to a pretty fall display. I used to do that all the time. Go into the woods and bring back baskets full of goodies and make make all my own decorations. So that whole thing just sort of sent me back. These two things, I think, were, they're nice giant images, and they're gorgeous standalones, and I wanted them to stand alone, and so they do. I did add gather and gather up here, and I just wanted them showpieced, and they are, I should say, showcased. Autumn Simple Country Pleasures is what this says here at the bottom, and that is another feather covered pumpkin. Quite pretty, very pretty. And here's what I did with the images that I found. I found homes for them where I could in the first part of the Better Homes and Gardens bit. These are all leftovers, the ones that were lost and then found from Better Homes and Gardens. This is what I ended up doing with it. Destination Craft. I want to find a nice tall glass of craft beer to put here. And then it'll say, oh, hell yeah. More of the marigolds. That book was so filled with marigolds. It's ridiculous. And we didn't even use them all. There were other pages with marigolds that had stuff on the back we kept for other things. This is all marigold dyed. Placemats, tablecloth, and napkins. Gorgeous. There's a bigger version of it, but we decided to use that for a colors glue book because it's such a pretty yellow picture. There's the lost and found tablecloth, the little country buffet hutch seating, bench seating, and our pearls, and this little reading nook up in an A-frame. So cute. I also wanted to share that I didn't plan it this way, but it's working out really well. You can see here that that's halfway through, and we've not used quite a quarter of the pages. So I can leave a couple more for fall if I want, and still have plenty for our winter, probably winter Christmas stuff, and the second half of the notebook for spring and summer. So this should, the only thing it's just, you can already see it's going to be totally kittywampus because I'm working front to back, and you can already see how much further out that front is. So it's gonna be kittywampus unless I do Christmas in the back, winter and Christmas in the back. So it'd be winter, fall, then do spring and summer. So I might do that. Know that going in, that if you work front to back in any project, altered book, glue book, it's going to get kittywampus on you, and you can already see that happening. So here's a couple pictures of me working last night. What I did after we harvest the magazines, I went through and I trimmed up all the tear marks. I cleaned up as best I could and made as straight a lines as possible with what I tore. There were certain things that I knew would be fussy cut. Like this, I knew was going to be fussy cut, so I fussy cut the things that I knew I was going to do that to. And then I sorted them into order of front yard, what I wanted to go together, the houses, so they each had their own pile or stack, and then outside, and then moving on to the interior of the house, what I wanted for the games, what I wanted for the kitchen. I sorted them all, and then when I got to that point, I sorted them by size. The big ones for the background images, the medium ones, and the tiny ones. So that, because that's how they're layered. The biggest ones go on the bottom, medium ones throughout, and the little stuff to fill in. That's as much planning as I did. For the first part, I didn't plan at all. I had, because we didn't have as many from the Better Homes and Gardens, I just grabbed things that I thought went together and what I wanted to start with. So I just grabbed and glued pretty much. There isn't a tour of this setting or whatever. Of course, all my puppies are together and my food baking, so it kind of naturally did that. I didn't plan it that way necessarily. I did put all the marigolds together, and I guess that's how my brain organizes things, all the Halloween stuff together. Quick tip, when I'm using things, this was from the cover of the magazine, so it's really thick and it's a lot shinier than the paper. It's super, super glossy. So when I'm gluing something like that down, I just take an old fingernail file that's pretty heavy duty grit, and I just rough it up so that it has something, the back of it obviously. I just take the image and I just etch it like that. Sorry about the camera jiggle. All over so that the glue has something to attach to. And the last thing that I wanted to share about this project is you can certainly play along if you happen to find a copy of either of these magazines, Better Homes and Gardens, October 2023, or Country Living, October-November 2023. It'd be easier with the Country Living. A, it's still available in November, but B, because we posted the video of harvesting, so you see exactly what we're cutting out. And when you watch the videos, you can see exactly which images. So if you want to, cut out the same images and put them together. Make sure to tag us if you do something like that and post a video, because we'd love to see it. The other way that you can participate is pick 10 or 12 images. If you happen to have 2 copies of a magazine, pick 10 or 12 images and then send them to a friend and say, I'm going to make a page layout with this. Let's see what you do. There's lots and lots of ways that you can participate as well. You can go full on, get 2 magazines of the same issue and send one to a craft friend and harvest together. You can do it over FaceTime or Zoom or Skype. If they even Skype anymore? I don't even know if that's a thing. But there's lots of here's an idea. You could actually get together if that's possible and harvest together, get the same images and play along. Certainly doable, and if you make a video of it, we would love to see it. It's an open collaboration, hashtag using the same images. Feel free to use it. Jump in whenever you'd like and tag us in so we can check it out if you do a video. You don't have to do a video, just have fun with it. Until we meet again, you have a lovely, lovely crafty day. Love up your beastlies. My take at the lake. Out for now.